Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Loose Balls Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Chris, and I'm here with my co-host, Eli.
Oh yeah, back for another week here, dude. Excited to get into this little off-season time here. It's been fairly exciting. We got some training camp stories to kind of touch on here.
Yeah,
Obviously, the newest episode of Hard Knocks.
right. And so, spoilers ahead. This episode will more than likely come out either the day of episode 3 or the day after episode 3. So this is all episode 2.
Hmm.
So, spoilers ahead if you haven't watched that episode yet, if you're saving up to watch all of the off season.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know if this is going to be too much of a spoiler for any of this because most of these things are common knowledge at this point if you followed any of the off-season drama. It just kind
True.
of gives a more in-depth dive to it.
Yep.
Uh, do you want to start there? You want to start with Hard Knocks before we get
Yeah,
into
yeah.
more of the
Let's
off-season stuff?
yeah, let's dive into this latest episode.
One thing that stuck out to me is that looking back and knowing who they drafted, the Giants spent what felt like with what the camera crews were recording and stuff like that, almost no time with their draft class.
Yeah, that's
They
true.
talked to Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels. I mean, of course, you're going to talk to all the quarterbacks to figure out if any of them are the right fit for you.
Yeah.
It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that most of the guys that they were talking to were going to be gone before they got to them.
Yeah, and this
Uh,
was something like before the draft. This was like a well-known team that was going to be shopping for QBs at the time. They were even talking about trading up with the Patriots for round three for some sort of QB type deal. Um, but yeah, like just another team on the bubble as far as QBs goes, because this was obviously a desperate draft for QBs.
yeah, and excuse me, it was nice to get to like hear these guys talk and stuff like that because getting to like see them and getting to see the draft combine because I missed part of that
Yeah,
was really nice. I don't blame Marvin Harrison for saying I'm just not going to play in like the stuff. I'll do the interviews, but I'm not going to do the drills because he is one of the few guys that had something to lose. Like if he didn't do well in the drills, but
true.
uh, I do think it's funny, and we were just talking about this before the pod started about Sam Hartman
Yeah.
getting a ton of screen time for
Oh
this.
yeah,
And
luscious locks.
I mean, yeah, but it was crazy to me because I'm pretty sure Spencer Rattler was there. I'm pretty sure all of these QBs were there. Yet they make
Yeah,
this whole big deal because he decides he's going to run the 40,
yeah,
which
exactly.
he needed to because he barely made the roster. He's now backing up. He's actually backing up Jaden Daniels and Marcus Mariota in Washington right now. So
Yep.
it's like this is something that was like, oh, that's cool to see. Like you get to see these guys, but at the same time,
I mean,
he's not going to play.
odds we see him play aren't that low. I mean, these are the QBs that for sure we're not going to see. Mariota got something to prove, obviously. Jane Daniels, new rookies, typically historically don't survive too well in the pocket their first season, so who knows?
Right. But right now he's third on the depth chart.
Yeah.
And he didn't do anything to prove that he was necessarily worth anything higher, I feel like. Maybe we
Oh
missed
yeah.
some of those drills, but
Nah, yeah.
we didn't
No,
get
it
to
was
see
just
any
the
of the
looks.
guys.
Yeah.
Um, and I guess we were supposed to assume that Joe Shane is like this psychic when he watched Xavier Worthy run and was like,
Yeah.
I mean, are we thinking first round? They're like, end of first round. He's like, yeah, that's what I was thinking, end of first round. And it's like, I mean, yeah, he's fast. Of course he's
Yeah.
gonna go like up near
Like
the
that's
top.
new meta of the NFL. I
Yeah.
think that's just like a pretty little introspective commentary on, for at least for like people that aren't really following the NFL, the people that might find themselves watching Hard Knocks, they'll be like exposed to like, oh, fast guys kind of sell well. Like that's kind of like a narrative that's been going on these past few years.
Yeah.
So
I
sure enough, we see him go first round.
yeah, I agree. I think I really liked it. Like before I was like, oh yeah, he's just really fast. Like that's why the Chiefs picked. I liked his mentality of like, I'm 2 seconds off the record. I'm going back for it. Like
True.
I want to win.
Yeah,
And
dude.
that's you don't see that a lot now in the modern NFL because there's so much tape, so much social media stuff, so much stuff that you can see that a lot of guys are just kind of
Yeah.
like, you know who I am. Like,
Yeah.
you
Well,
know what
I
my
feel
stats are.
like, yeah, I feel like that's kind of like what the combine's like kind of turning into nowadays, you know? It's just like one of the last bastions to like kind of have fun. It used to be the Pro Bowl, but I mean, like, when's the last time you've tuned into the Pro Bowl, you know?
I didn't tune into the Pro Bowl when it was supposed to be fun. The Pro Bowl to
Yeah.
me is ridiculous. I don't
Yeah.
I whatever. Give them their award. It's the same thing with like the NBA All-Star game. Like no one takes it
Yeah.
serious anymore. So
Hmm.
that
Yeah.
that is what it is.
True.
I do think Xavier Worthy's going to be a guy watching that mentality. I think he's going to grow. I
True.
am surprised that the Giants didn't go with Romo Duce because they
Dude,
had the chance.
I know.
And watching the interview process, it felt like his mentality and the way he was talking was like, "Oh yeah, this is the guy. Like this is the guy they need.
Yeah.
They need someone that's going
Fit
to come in
well.
and take over that locker room and be like, "No, we're doing this." Especially
Yeah, they need a voice in that locker room now that their big guy is gone, you know? So it's
right,
like,
and
what
they
kind of
knew
identity do they want to like move forward with? Yeah.
and they knew when they were doing that interview, like when they were doing like the presser and everything like that, they were going to let him go. They knew for sure at that point they were not going to retain Saquon. So
Yeah.
it, to me, the comment that caught me was when they were watching Malik Neighbors after the interview. They're like, "That's the same guy. This guy that was so shy and like quiet in our interview process is out there running people over."
Yeah, dude.
It's like, all right, that's great, but if you don't have anybody
Uh,
to step up, who is it? Is it Daniel Jones? It's going to be the step up on your offense? I don't see it. I
true.
but uh yeah, I don't I don't know. I felt like we got a lot of information about this team from this draft and
Mm.
none of it points to me to being like better, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I would agree. You know, I mean, like one of the more interesting things that I was bringing up earlier was um like the lack of a tight end presence in at least this combine, you know. I I don't know like what kind of message they're going to be kind of reaching for with you know, my guy Darren Waller's whole situation here. So I'm fairly interested to see how all this plays out within these next few episodes.
I don't know if he actually makes an appearance. I think this is something we talked about because he had stepped away from the team during this time while he was
Yeah.
deciding if he was going to retire or not. So I don't know. I He will have a spot in the show, but I don't know if we see him because they're going to talk about,
Yeah,
oh,
that's what
he
I'm
he
saying.
retired. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like at
Uh,
least talk about him or talk about his situation, what kind of extraneous variables kind of played into the draft and everything
yeah.
like that.
I mean, shit, is Joe Shane going to talk shit about him too?
I mean, who knows, you know? I don't think
The
anything's off the table right now.
the Saquon conversation to me felt like he knew the cameras were on him
Yeah,
and he knew where
100%.
he was going with this
Like he needs to be
because
Teflon tight. I'm the face of the Giants. This is the conversation the face
yeah,
of the Giants has with a star player, you know?
what are we going to say about Saquon? Well, I can't
Yeah,
get up there and say I offered him a bunch of money last year and he didn't want it.
true.
The answer is yes. That was a lot of money, but that wasn't what he was worth. And that's
Yeah,
the hard part. Like
true.
you knew that he probably wasn't going. You wanted him to take the team friendly deal, and Saquon came back with a number. You didn't like that. You franchise tagged him, and he came back this year and said,
Ooh,
"Hey, I did better.
yeah.
I don't want to be
And they,
franchise tagged again. Here's the number."
yeah, they even said to him, "It's like we don't want to go down that road again." You know, I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, jeez."
Well, because that leads to holdouts. You end up with a Le'Veon Bell situation where he just
Oh,
sits.
true. Yeah,
I've got the money.
true,
I
true,
don't
true.
want to play. Uh,
Yeah.
the part where he's calling them and he calls Ed Berry, his agent first,
Hmm.
and it's like, I think we're gonna let you guys test the market. You know, Ed Berry was like licking his lips, like rubbing his hands, like, oh,
It's
we
like,
about
oh,
to make a
really?
bang in
Yeah,
the free agency.
exactly.
I, yeah, sure, I'll circle back with you, I guess. I
Oh,
guess.
no problem. Yeah,
Yeah, no
exactly.
problem. Yeah, yeah.
You're on my
He
speed dial.
well, and that is the kind of agent you want that's going to tell every owner, like, oh yeah, we'll for sure come back to you. We'll for
Yeah,
sure.
exactly. Hmm.
And you know he texts Saquon in the middle of that phone call that's like, "Hey, just
Oh
so you
yeah.
know, they're gonna call you and tell you this is what's going on," so he could start to prepare.
I'm sure it would be like some sort of Wolf of Wall Street type thing, just like puts the phone on mute, just starts going on a rant about how excited he is.
Yeah.
He's like, love to hear it. And then, but does this whole little thing.
Yeah, and Saquon's answer was cold. Like,
Yeah. He's like,
"Hey,
ah.
you want to possibly come back? You gonna let us know what you get offered?" And he goes, I've told you my number. Like if I and
hmm
that basically what he's saying is if I go anywhere else and I take less money, just know I gave you the number that it would take to keep me as a Giant.
True.
Like
True.
I I agree. Like if I was negotiating for a job and I got an opportunity to go do the exact same job for a better organization for less money, a little bit less money, but
Yeah.
this means that I get more accolades and things like that. Why would I go
Maybe a
back to the
ring,
worst?
you
Yeah,
know?
why would I go back to the worst organization and then lay that number down and be like, "This is what I got offered"?
True.
No.
True.
The "I want to be a Giant for life" thing is the good PR stuff that you're supposed to do, but the real
Yeah.
answer is the exact answer he gave when he hung up that phone. I gave you my number, and like
Yeah.
click. Like that's the end of the conversation.
True.
And so
True, true, true. You know who I need to see more of? I feel like we saw a lot of them last episode, but not enough this episode. Need to see my guy Daniel Jones. Need to see him talking with the players, getting excited for the season. I'm excited for training camp footage, which I don't know if this Hard Knocks is going to go all the way to training camp. I don't think so.
it should.
I think there's like a separate Hard Knocks for one that is before the season, training camp to preseason, first part of the season, and then last part of the season. I think they're doing 4 teams all in the same division in one year.
Oh, well, that's a bummer because they have not minced words about in everywhere else but the owner or but the organization have not minced word about they need a new quarterback. Like this
Yeah.
is where they're hurting. Can they get a quarterback now? They're interviewing quarterbacks. The only time they haven't said that is when they actually come out in the news and it's like, "Hey, you brought in Drew Lock. Does this mean you're thinking about replacing Daniel?" Nope, nope. But
Sure.
everywhere else points to the fact that yeah, you're gonna replace him. So
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be an interesting situation.
yeah,
Yep. I don't know if I would necessarily call it a, QB shootout, but might be here this preseason.
yeah.
Right.
Let's see. I'm looking it up here really quick. So it is the entire division, but they don't
Yeah.
know. Okay, so it's off season with the Giants, Bears during the training camp, and then the in season edition following the AFC North. So that's
Okay.
is that the Giants again for the AFC North? I
I don't think so. That might be. Is
No,
that
it's
Ravens?
the Steelers, Browns, Bengals, Ravens,
Nice. Okay,
which
that's
will
pretty
be
interesting.
interesting.
Yeah.
I want to see the massage facilities in the Browns organization,
Oh
what that looks like.
gosh, I do not want to see. The only thing I'm interested with the Browns, I think we can kind of start talking about, um, feelings of teams right now. Let's gloss over the Browns here real quick. Got rid of their lightning in a bottle, Joe Flacco, right? So
Right.
they got Deshaun Watson back in front. They got it's not Jacoby Brissett behind him, is it?
No, it's famous Jameis.
Famous Jameis behind him. Gosh, talk about a QB room I'm not excited to see. And then we still don't even know if Nick Chubb's healthy right now, you know? I mean, sure, they got
They,
defense, they got a good receiver core, kind of good receiver core. Um, they got a good O-line,
I'm,
honestly. Um, it's
I
just going to
would say
be,
the
yeah, it's just going to be interesting going forward, seeing anything the Browns can really let out or, build on what they already have.
yeah. I think the only part about the Browns that I'm interested for this upcoming Hard Knocks is to see how Deshaun Watson handles loss or how Deshaun Watson is handling if the team's not doing well. Because No, because he has fully
Yeah.
guaranteed money. It doesn't matter how well the
Yeah,
team does.
exactly.
He
He
gets
doesn't
paid
care at
regardless.
all.
And that's
Yeah.
what I want to see is he actually acting like that, or is he pretending like, oh, maybe I'm going to get one more contract after this? Like, eh,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yep.
To me, that was a horrible signing. Talk
Yeah.
about one of the biggest flubs by a team is letting
Hmm.
Baker Mayfield go for this guy.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, don't get me wrong, there are better quarterbacks in the league than Baker Mayfield. Deshaun Watson was one of them at one point in time. However,
Yeah.
coming off of 3 years of not playing, you're really telling me you're booting the guy that got you to the playoffs?
True.
So,
True.
uh,
Two guys that got him to the playoffs.
yeah, I can already tell you the narratives we're going to be focusing on in this regular season. So with the Browns, it's going to be Deshaun Watson. It's also going to
Hmm.
be an Amari Cooper contract year and Jerry Jeudy trying to
Ooh.
prove himself. Those are going to be the three, not
Wait,
counting the
Jerry
defense.
Judy's in the Browns right now?
Yeah, and they
Huh.
overpaid him.
Oof.
They
Okay.
they signed him. The Broncos basically did what the Giants did with Saquon, and were like, "Test free agency, get back to us." And the Browns are like, "We'll pay you."
Wow.
So
Wow, wow,
that's
wow.
one. Um, I don't know a whole lot about their defense, and they're probably going to cover Nick Chubb on his recovery if he's not back by the start of the season.
Yeah.
The Steelers are going to cover like TJ Watt and Patrick Queen and like all these guys like just trying to gel together because they're coming off an injury season. And then it's going to be their
Yeah.
quarterbacks. It's going to
But this is going to
be
be, yeah, main season, right? So we're going to see. Oh man, I don't even know if QBs are going to be trading snaps. I think that would honestly, I don't even know how to feel about that. I think we've gone over, the plot with the Steelers here for a little bit, but it is going to it's going to be very exciting over there to say the least.
yeah. The Bengals are going to be, can Joe Burrow stay healthy?
Yep.
And T. Higgins is going to get a lot of time because he has not reached a
Hey,
deal, which
I
means
think
that
Zach
he's going
Moss,
to
dude.
free agency.
True. Zach Moss is
Uh,
going to be a guy over there, dude.
he is, but you talk about the players they're going to watch, and then they're going to watch that new offensive coordinator. Is going to get a lot of time to see if he can keep the
Okay.
offense going the same way that now the Tennessee Titans head coach did.
Yeah.
And then the last one is Baltimore, and that's just going to be Derrick Henry. Let's be
All
real. We're
day.
gonna follow. We're gonna follow how Derrick Henry's adjusting to a new team. We're gonna get a
Yep.
little bit of Harbaugh hyping up the defense, the new
Nah.
defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are gonna be the big talking points if we're talking
Nice.
about like the future of Hard Knocks.
Hmm.
The middle one with training camp. Again, training camp doesn't mean much. I think the only thing that's worth noting about the Bears right now is it was talked about this morning, and I just saw it. Caleb
Yeah.
Williams and Romo Duce have not signed their rookie deals yet. They're
Yeah.
still in negotiations on their contract. And while there's not a lot that can be negotiated outside of like signing bonus and like schedules and things like that,
True.
it is a little alarming
Hmm.
to see Caleb Williams holding out. Not holding out, but still negotiating when everybody else has signed.
True.
My first reaction to why Romo Duce is not signing is he's like, well, I want to see what Caleb Williams gets first.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
if you're going to pay
Like
him more, why not pay me more? We both went in the first
exactly.
round.
Bubble's been kind of getting big. Why not test the water, see what we can get?
Yeah.
True.
What's really going to be ironic about this is they're going to pay Caleb Williams. They're going to hype him up. And I really hope this isn't the case. But man, what if he's just awful?
I know, dude. Like that's what I was kind of thinking too. Like, why not hold on to Justin Fields, pay him? Because gosh knows Seattle's not doing that right now.
Steelers.
Um, or Steelers, yeah. And try and negotiate both their contracts for friendlier deals because they're going to be kind of competing at that point. You know.
But at the same time, you don't want Justin Fields there. Like, I agree. You want a good backup quarterback, but you don't want it to be your starting quarterback from the previous year. Because if Caleb Williams comes out and looks bad, like we're talking like 5 interceptions in the first week,
Yeah.
like that's what was coming out in the actual like OTAs. If
Yeah.
he looks that bad, fans are going to start to be like, bring back Justin Fields. And then you're
Oh,
stuck in an awkward
100%.
spot of what do you do? So they kind of made the choice for him. It was like, this is our guy. Just
Okay.
accept
Yeah.
that this is our guy.
True.
And so that'll be interesting. I don't know. I think Oduse is in for kind of a wake up call about his pecking order on this roster.
Yeah.
because DJ Moore is their wide receiver one. That's not even a
Mhm.
question. You
Yep.
could argue that Romo Duce probably could sneak into a wide receiver two spot over Keenan Allen because Keenan Allen's
That would
34,
be wild.
but it's more feasible than him expecting to be the number one option.
True. I
Like,
may have mistook who Romeo Duce is. I thought he was a safety.
no, 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 no.
No?
He
Uh,
was the receiver. I think, was he teammates with Caleb Williams? Was that the connection?
I think
Either
he
they
was teammates with Jaden Daniels.
Oh, maybe at LSU. Yeah.
Y-
Uh,
Yep.
I don't. I don't know. I really hope he pops off.
Yeah.
Um, it just to me it feels like you shouldn't. It's been a while since we've had a big name rookie hold out for a better deal, and that was Joey Bosa, right? The younger
Yeah.
Bosa brother when he went to the
Held
Chargers
out.
was like,
Yep.
"Pay me,"
Hmm.
and he's good.
Yep.
He
Yeah.
proved that he was worth the money. So I
Exactly.
hope all we can hope is that Caleb Williams is in that same boat because I've been hyping up this Bears team on this rebuild for some time, and I don't want to look foolish.
True, dude. Quite some
Uh,
time. You know,
but
I think honestly the team is a little too stacked in my professional opinion. Like if Browns could get away with it last season, Bears can get away with it this season. You know,
true, yeah,
that's how I see
and
it.
that's true. Before we get too far into other teams and like off-season stuff like that, just kind of wrapping up the Giants. This
Mhm.
preseason video that we've seen, the little snippet into their stuff, has given me zero bumps in confidence that this team's going to do well this season. Zero.
True, true.
Like
They were
I don't.
definitely fluffing up like the career of the head coach and everything. They're like, oh yeah, he's been great at teaching new talent across this and this and this. But dude, they just got one new player. And he's a receiver. Like you're not fooling anyone in this.
Right. And don't get me wrong, like it's nothing against Brian Daboll. Like he
Yeah.
is a quarterback guru.
Hmm.
Problem is you haven't done anything to make the team better outside of getting Brian Burns. Like he's
Hmm.
Brian Burns is good. Don't get me wrong. Like I like Brian Burns as a player. Like that was a good way to trade and get him. We still haven't gotten to that point yet. They're teasing this out because they know that's the big move that the Giants made this offseason.
Yeah.
But on offense, you lost Darren Waller. You brought in Theo Johnson, who I don't know a whole lot about. I hope he's good because guess what? He's now starting. Like,
Yeah. Dude, they should
as
have
long
picked up
as
Brock Bowers, dude. They had draft position number 6.
yeah, but they didn't know Waller was retiring at that point.
I think they knew.
I I also agree that I think they knew, but maybe they were optimistic. But
Yeah.
in reality, if you think about this team, before they got Darren Waller, who Darren Waller did not do a whole lot for the Giants,
Yeah.
but
No. Yeah.
he was a
Exactly.
better receiver. It was Evan Ingram before that. Like,
Yeah.
if he can get to like Evan Ingram on the Giants numbers, I think he's okay. Like,
Yeah. I can see
I
that.
don't mean this in a mean way, like, because Evan Ingram led tight ends last year in fantasy scoring, was like top five, something like that. He didn't lead;
Oh
he was
wow.
top five, but he
Yeah.
scored high. Had absolute bricks for hands in New York. Like,
Jeez.
there was a reason he went from New York to Indianapolis before he landed with the Jags. Like,
Yeah.
stones for hands.
Jeez.
Uh, I mean, and so I have zero confidence that this team is going to be any better than what they're hyping up. I like the people on their
Oh
I
yeah.
like the guys on their roster. Like they all seem very personable people, like nice
Yeah.
guys.
Hmm.
The front office management is just making me just kind of go,
And yeah,
"Oh
like anyone can kind
man."
of step into that right now, and it'll be performed just as well.
Right. And if you're really that concerned about Saquon leaving, overpay him. Like really,
Yeah.
like is it going to break the bank to overpay this guy? Like
Yeah.
they even talked about, and that was the last part that they talked about in this episode, is that they
That's
were
it.
vastly
Yeah.
undercutting their salary cap, what they thought the bump was going to be. So they're trying to keep to it. They got 15 million more a year, and you're telling me you can't set any of that aside to pay Saquon
Yeah.
a little bit more?
Yeah.
Like the fact that they're even talking about wanting to trade him in the middle of the season. What if we can't find someone to trade is wild.
Yeah. Yeah.
First,
True.
first off, who is not going to want to trade for Saquon Barkley, right?
I couldn't. Well, you know, I feel like RBs, there's a lot of talent in the RB world right now, but not too much payment going around, so like market is pretty steady with the RBs. Saquon's setting the pace as far as payment goes. Um, yeah, but like free agency was full of a lot of RB options. They even went over that last episode, but um, I
But
mean
that's not what
Saquon,
they're
you don't get much better than Saquon. That being said, he is a little bit older, right?
right.
I mean, sell him while he's high, so I can respect that decision. It's just going to be difficult because the Giants find themselves in a situation where they're torn between trying to reach for maybe an identity that they had and trying to grow themselves towards something else. I think that's something we saw a lot in this last episode as well was what kind of personalities do we want in our locker room? What kind of pace do we want to be setting this year? We need them to be able to have a strong head on their shoulders as far as like the culture that's in New York. So I think they had a good outlook as far as the future of the team, but yeah, sure, the handling of the Saquon contract. Honestly, I don't think there's any comfortable way to go about doing that.
No, but that I agree with what you're saying, but what I'm saying is they're sitting there arguing with each other of like, would we not be able to find a trade partner for him? And yeah, right now the running
Yeah.
back market is flooded, but
Hmm.
I'm talking like the CMC trade that took place a couple years ago, like right before the trade deadline where
Crazy.
you get a couple picks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they got nothing for Saquon. They could have gotten something for
Yeah.
him. And
Yep.
so to me it just felt it I don't know. It felt forced. Um,
Yeah.
it's going to go down as one of the biggest flubs, like blown
Yeah.
opportunities in modern NFL. Crazy how
Yeah,
many of
dude.
those we've had in the last 5 years. Like
Crazy is right, dude. So much mismanagement.
CMC to the Niners for 2 seconds and a third is insane.
Gosh. Yeah.
Brian Burns for a first and a third, insane. Shout out Panthers for making the list twice. Uh, AJ Brown from the Titans to the Eagles for
Mhm.
picks. Wild.
Russell Wilson to the Broncos.
Russell Wilson to the Broncos. Both, well, yeah, Broncos flubbed that one.
Yep.
Russell Wilson to the Steelers. You've already
Yep.
paid the man. You might as well ride it out.
Yep.
Let's see. I don't know. Depending on how Derrick Henry does, letting
True.
Derrick Henry go might be a flub. But also, this is a
Maybe
team.
Titans need to go through a rebuild for
Right,
sure.
Titans need to go through a rebuild, and Saquon is way younger than Derrick Henry. So when we talk about this, it's kind of different.
Yeah.
Um, the Deshaun Watson trade, huge flub.
Mhm.
So many first round picks, and then to
Yep.
guarantee his full contract,
The
awful,
nuts. Nuts. Yeah.
nuts. Uh, speaking of contracts, I saw an
Mm,
article this morning, and I wanted to pick your brain about it
mm.
because it's Tyreek Hill
Okay.
talking about it. Tyreek Hill wants to reset the market and be the top paid NFL wide receiver, which he should.
Obviously. Yeah.
Which he
Obviously.
should. He led the league in receiving yards last year, almost
Maybe.
broke a record.
I don't know. But, I
Uh,
mean, when we talk about wide receivers, sure, there's the numbers, but we are talking about an offense that is blasting the ball down the field as much as humanly possible, and you're going to find yards with that. So, I mean,
right.
top paid wide receiver, a little up in age for the position. I mean, who knows. I wouldn't
Yeah,
say
but I
he's going
don't
to be
think
beating out Justin Jefferson.
but I don't say I'm not thinking that he's top paid like largest contract, but most paid in a year, like a couple year deal. I could see him getting
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
However, he's not who I wanted to talk about because he's quoted as saying that Tua should be the top paid quarterback in the
Wow.
NFL because of all he
Okay.
does for the team. Now,
Wow.
the reason I brought this up is because he had I Is Tyreek saying this for good publicity to be like, I'm a team guy, like, so the Dolphins want to keep him? Or is he genuinely delusional that he thinks that Tua could be one of the top paid
Dude,
quarterbacks in the NFL and they could keep everybody on that roster?
kinda. Like, I'm kinda thinking it's a little delusional. Like, I'm thinking this dude was partying so hard the night before with Tua, and like they just had the greatest of time. And then like he just like found a reporter talking about contracts. And he's like, by the way, this guy right here, he deserves all the money. It's like, yeah, I think he's kind of tucking that his ass, honestly.
Yeah, right. Well, and the article also goes on to put up who he would be competing with to be the top paid quarterback. And I do think he's better than some. Like,
Okay, yeah,
he would be
yeah.
beating out Jared Goff. He would be
Hmm.
beating out Justin Herbert. He'd be
Yeah.
beating out who else just reset it? It was someone else wild.
Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, it was Trevor Lawrence. And I was like, okay,
Yeah.
I'd take Tua over Jared Goff. I'd take Tua
Yeah.
over Justin Herbert. I'd
Yeah.
probably take Tua over Trevor Lawrence. So if you told me that we had to pay him so we didn't get one of those guys, sure,
Yeah.
maybe.
Maybe.
But if you
Maybe.
told me that we're doing this so we can make the Super Bowl, I'd be like, we've already done this. Like, who are
Yeah.
we changing around to make it?
Yeah.
To me, it just feels like the Dolphins are at a crossroad and they have to make a choice. Do we keep Tyreek or do we keep Tua? And
Mhm.
part of me feels like that they're going to keep
Tua.
Tyreek
Oh, Tyreek.
because he's just such a good receiver that it's like, whatever. Next draft, we can trade up and get a quarterback and just have someone else do it.
Honestly, yeah, I don't know. Like, honestly, I'm keeping Tua and I'm having Tua teach a rookie next year. Like, I mean, it's not like he doesn't understand the system. It's not like he doesn't understand, you know, how the game was played. It's just unfortunate some of the injuries that he's like
Right.
withstood, you know?
But
Um,
the hard
and
part here,
Tyreek's a little old. Yeah, that's just
he
me.
he is, but you can't pay both. That's the
Yeah.
hard part. Like,
Hmm.
if you lock Tua up for 5 years, that means that you are hoping that he doesn't get hurt and that somewhere in
Hmm.
those next 5 years a quarterback's going to come along.
Hmm.
Because I don't know if he wins a Super Bowl with Miami. And that's not because he's a bad quarterback. It's just because I don't know if he has enough with the team around him to make
I don't
it.
know. If Eli Manning can do it, I think Tua can do it.
It depends on healthiness. Off-season
Yeah.
expectations were wild. I only made it through the my division, the AFC East.
Yeah.
To
Let's not forget
say,
your prediction was the Dolphins winning
oh,
the Super
Dolphins go to the Super Bowl. If they win the Super Bowl, they pay Tua and they let
Bowl.
Tyreek go. That's totally
Yeah.
different. If they don't
Yeah.
make the Super Bowl, though, I think they pick Tyreek and they let Tua go because it's like clearly it's Tua, not Tyreek, is the problem.
Yeah.
Like our offense, like if we have to pay one of the two guys, we're gonna pay the guy that's been the league leader in passing yard or in like reception yards the last 2 years.
True.
Like last couple if you count back when he was with Patty Mahomes. Like it doesn't
You
matter
only
who's
had
throwing the
last
ball.
year with the Dolphins, right?
No. I think he's been with the
No.
Dolphins for 2 years. Because it was
Yeah.
we signed, we
'Cause they
traded
had
for
that hard
Tyreek.
knocks. Yeah.
Yeah, we traded for Tyreek and then we drafted Jalen Waddle. And that was 2 years ago because the this year was A Chain and defensive pieces.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And
Okay.
then so yeah, this will be the
Hey,
third year he'll be a
another
Dolphin.
fast RB. What's going on here?
It's speed. Like and this is it's
I
the
mean,
way that the
you already
NFL.
have like two or three of them, you know?
Yeah.
Why another?
So no one else can be fast.
Yeah,
You
it's
want
fair.
to you want to deal in speed? You got to come talk to us. We got the speed market cornered. So,
True. True.
but the off-season prediction. Okay. I mean, we've already talked about this, but the blind test, Bills right now. Like, is
Oh,
this the Super Bowl year for them?
no.
No.
They don't even
Yet,
make top 20,
yet
in
talking heads are up here saying it's Super Bowl this year. Like that is the like they need
gosh.
to make the Super Bowl, which I agree they need to make the Super
That
Bowl.
was
They
that
are
was
not
two
making
years
the Super
ago,
Bowl. It
and that
was
was desperate last year. And
right.
now there's no chance this year. There's no chance.
Swing for the fences here. Trade us Josh Allen. We'll trade you Tua for Josh Allen straight up. He'll get his Super Bowl
In the division.
in the
Oh man,
division. Oh, it would be wild.
that would be crazy. Tua would get eaten up and spit out with the Bills.
Yeah, he absolutely would. But Josh Allen would cook.
Josh Allen would cook. That would be like the
Like,
next Matthew Stafford type
yeah,
fucking yeah.
yeah. Oh God, he wants more money too. Oh, we don't want to trade for Stafford. I could see them doing something stupid.
Yeah,
No,
that's
we don't
true.
want him.
Yeah.
You know who I think would be a good win for both teams,
Mhm.
and the Dolphins are still able to stay under the cap.
What's
If we
that?
put a package together where we send Tua to the Niners and we get Brock Purdy back.
Wait, did you guys have Brock Purdy?
No, we
Uh,
trade Tua to the Niners and
yeah.
we get Brock Purdy back. The Niners
Two is
right
just
now,
another Trey Lance. Let's be honest here.
oh, he's better than Trey Lance. He's so much better than Trey Lance, and he's had time to learn the McDaniel system, so he'll be able to fit into a Shanahan offense. They
Okay.
have the money that they could pay him because right
Yeah.
now they got CMC locked up. They're going to decide between Debo and Ayuk this year, and I think
Yep.
they have Kittle locked up. So
Hmm.
really, they might also be tight in the cap space, but Brock Purdy knows who he is, and so the Dolphins could get away with paying him a little less.
Yeah.
And I think he would facilitate that offense really well. He doesn't need to be the guy. He doesn't need to be like making changes at the line and stuff like that. I mean, he
You'd
does,
be
but he
okay
doesn't need.
with Purdy at the line?
Would I be okay with over the other options of who are available, like that teams would be willing to deal? Yeah, I think he's the best option we could get because otherwise we're either getting someone that's really old or we're getting
Yeah.
someone that needs a lot of work because like the Steelers would gladly give up Justin Jefferson or not Justin Jefferson, uh,
Fields.
Justin Fields
Hmm.
or Russell Wilson. Please don't take
Yeah.
Russell Wilson. But both of those guys have their problems, and I don't think are better than Tua.
Yeah.
If you trade for Lawrence,
Dude.
we're stuck up against the cap.
You know what I wish would have happened this off season? Sorry to cut you
Uh,
off. Sorry.
no, you're good. You're good.
Jacoby Brissett to the Raiders. Gosh, do you know how happy I would have been with that?
Yeah,
That would have been perfectly fine. I would have been happy, you know?
but the reason that they couldn't take Brissett is
Yeah.
Minshew comes in with almost no expectations. Like you don't
Yeah.
hear people except for diehard Minshew fans clamoring at the bit to be like he needs to start over AOC.
Yeah. Which,
Now,
maybe, who knows?
if
They
if
both kind
Jacoby
of seem
Brissett,
like in the same echelon. Jacoby Brissett's at least a little established.
right, if Jacoby Brissett goes to the Raiders and he doesn't start, that's wild.
Yeah,
That's
that is wild.
wild to me because he should have started with the Colts, but then the Colts got Andrew Luck, and that just kind of set his cycle up of forever being a backup. He's a good
True.
quarterback.
He
Like
is.
so, and I think that's where, but he's not a franchise quarterback, and that's what makes it
Yeah.
hard. He's like this generation's Fitzmagic. Like he's gonna go and he's gonna
Yeah.
ball out.
Hmm.
So they needed someone that was like, even if AOC sucks,
Hmm.
it's like at least I mean, at least it's not
Yeah.
like it could be
Yeah.
worse.
True. Could be
But
worse.
if he
I
gets
mean,
hurt, Minshew can come in and put up 19-9 and win you like 3 or 4 games. Like it's
yeah.
not great, it's not terrible.
Yeah. True.
Yeah. I
Just
yeah.
doesn't feel comfy.
You know who they should have gotten? If we're being honest, like, I would be okay if this guy went over to the Dolphins as the backup and ended up playing a decent chunk of games.
Yeah.
Andy Dalton, like,
Andy Dalton, eh?
still kicking around the league. Like, I don't
Okay.
understand. He can't have fallen off to where he's
I'll be
that much worse than
I'll
Stafford.
be honest. I would rather have Taysom Hill as my QB. I'm just gonna put that out there.
I'm gonna be honest. I would rather have Taysom Hill as my tight end. Like I
There you
don't
go.
know if I want him as my QB. He's not bad, but he's definitely a gadget type player and
Yeah.
fits really well into those trick play systems. So if you set him up for the entire game and it's like you're our quarterback,
Ye-
You're getting Minshew
Yeah.
numbers. Like you're getting
Yeah.
Minshew numbers, so you're really kind of stuck in the same spot of like it's Gardner Minshew
True.
or it yeah. So
It would look
no,
cool though.
yeah, eh. Uh other news, following receivers that can't stay out of trouble.
Ooh, who's
Newest
this?
one is Jordan Addison. Did you hear about this? Yeah.
Really?
Picked up outside of LAX asleep behind the wheel of his car, believed to be drunk, DUI.
Ooh, that's unfortunate. Won't do
Yeah,
anything,
that's
but
the.
you know.
I mean, we'll miss him for 3 or 4 games.
Really?
Yeah, DUI. That's a
Sweet.
3 game suspension for sure.
Freaks me. You know, I mean,
Uh,
what do I know about punishment in the NFL? It seems like anything goes, honestly. You know,
it
that's
it
just me though.
it does. I guess what we'll really see is what the Rashee Rice suspension is because
Yeah,
he's getting suspended. Like
yeah,
that's not a. This is not a question of if he. It's how long.
yeah. True.
So if he gets for illegal street racing, wrecking a car, and leaving the scene of an accident, which should be a felony. I don't
Which is
understand how we're
nuts.
not talking about this being a felony. That's a hit and
True.
run. I
Yeah,
mean, unless he left his information there. Well, I mean, enough people knew who he was, but he didn't stay. He
yeah.
left.
He was gone.
He was gone. That's a felony. Last time I
Yeah.
checked.
Hmm.
Um, if he gets anything like whatever he gets, take like 1 to 2 games off, and that's probably what Addison will get.
Okay.
And that's just because already it's been a rough start to the off season,
Yeah.
and they're gonna have to make a statement
Does
about
this
it.
affect the Vikings at all, though?
I think it does because Hawkinson isn't back yet, so it becomes JJ
Wait, where's
and Justin
Hawkinson?
Jefferson. He's hurt. He
Oh,
blew out his
really?
knee in the last playoff game.
Dang.
Remember, that's
Did
what
not realize.
Tanner needed to win in our league, and then Hawkinson goes down with a half left. Yeah,
Don't. That sounds pretty funny.
yeah. Oh, he was mad.
Yeah.
No, it was so it really leaves them kind of hurting because KJ Osborne isn't there anymore. So they're going deep into their bag now for receivers.
Yeah.
And but it's not going to be long. Like I
Okay.
think 2 to 3 games that would be because if we're talking half season suspensions for like gambling on games, which is a big no.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, it it feels weird that gambling on games like illegal sports betting gets you a higher thing than actually endangering people's
Yeah.
lives, but that's
Hurting
the
people.
NFL. That's the
Yeah.
NFL we
True.
live in. As long
True.
as you're not in jail, they don't really care. Uh,
Facts.
Shout out Henry Ruggs.
Oh, dude, shout out. Like any horrendous news story from the Patriots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. Off season, I'm excited still for training camps because then we get to see how much Hunter Henry is going to be used. Speaking of the Patriots,
Oh, yeah.
um,
That'll be
going
interesting.
kind of going around the league, just kind of last little bit here.
Yeah.
Uh, it'll be interesting to see McCarthy actually look in an offense.
Yeah.
That was another big piece that they talked about in Hard Knocks is that he got to make changes at the line, but didn't have to make changes to coverage. The linemen were expected to do that, and I don't think that's the case in the modern NFL. Like you
Hmm.
pick up your guy, but unless your quarterback shifts you, it's kind of like maybe not. Maybe like the center makes the calls, but he'll be an interesting one to see.
True,
Um,
dude.
did we saw Caleb Williams? We saw Jaden Daniel. Jaden Daniels went to Washington, right? Or was he the
Yep.
one who went to the Patriots?
He went to Washington. Very
Okay.
excited to see how Washington does. I'll
And
go back
so
to
I
yeah.
guess what I'm saying, I'm kind of surprised we didn't get to see. I mean, I'm gonna guess that they didn't interview Bo Nix. Like, I'm gonna be
Yeah.
real that they never interviewed Bo Nix, and
I'm sure they did. They just didn't have time to put it in the Hard Knocks. It's not the most important interview. I think we could
true.
extrapolate that.
But the guy who went to the Patriots, I felt like should have made that interview spot to get to see him.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, well, he was up there, right?
No, he was at the combine, but he didn't get interviewed.
I thought that's what the white dude was, Drake May.
No, 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 no. That was JJ McCarthy that they interviewed. They didn't do Drake May. They did McCarthy, they did Caleb Williams, and they did Jaden Daniels.
Okay.
And Jaden Daniels was my favorite because Dayball tried to hit him with that trick question.
True.
Like,
Several
tell
trick
me about your
questions.
family, and like he started talking. He goes, "Hey,
How do you
Coach, what was
unwind
that
from a
play?"
loss? You know?
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. What was that play? Yeah.
and he got it. Same mistake that
Yeah.
he made the first time, but he got it. Like,
Yeah, he just switched the letters. Yeah.
yeah. Um, so I don't. Moving around, we don't have much coming out of Houston that I've seen.
Yeah, not a lot coming out of Houston.
Does the
Broncos,
Stephon
though,
Diggs fit?
there's going to
Oh,
be
okay.
a lot of action going on with the Broncos. Um, as far as creating an entirely new scheme, if any coach could do it, though, I would say,
Sean
who
Payton.
coach, who coach Tom Payton can do it.
I don't know. So this is we're I think we're now at the point because we've talked about this last year of like, do we think that the Denver Broncos affect Sean Payton's legacy?
Oh no,
Now,
there's no
no, it was
chance.
still when he came in and took over with Russell Wilson. But now that he tapped Bo Nix on the shoulder and said, "This guy, I have the same excitement for him as I do Patty Mahomes."
I think they were
He
just
comes out.
comparing metrics. I don't know if they were saying he's the next Patty Mahomes.
No, no, no. I get that, but he he was very adamant that the Saints should have taken Patty Mahomes according to his stories, and that no one did. So he got to make the choice
Um,
here, and he picked Bo Nix because he didn't want to let another air quotations Patty Mahomes slip through his fingers.
okay, you know what? He gets that excuse. I'll give it
Right,
to him.
but if the
Yeah,
Broncos suck,
yeah.
does this eventually like at what point do we start to say, all right, maybe this is Sean Payton. Maybe Sean Payton did really well because the front office put a team around him that he could coach. Like, at what point do
Maybe.
we start to like
Yeah,
put him in that same category of like Bill O'Brien or Bill? Well, not Bill Belichick because Bill Belichick will be
yeah.
one of the greats of all time. But
No,
where
I
it's
think
like,
I think Sean Payton will be one of the greats. Honestly, I don't think
okay,
anything that the Broncos go through are going to tarnish his reputation. Like,
okay,
without a doubt, he created one of the most successful offenses in the NFL.
yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah,
Switching it up one last, well, not really because it's still off season. We're talking about training camp. You know which training camp I wish could gotten Hard Knocks?
who's that?
The Falcons.
Oh, dude, that would have been
Not
awesome.
because I care about Kyle Pitts. They've got Kyle Pitts now practicing at wide receiver and tight end. They're
Oh
going to
yeah,
try and
yeah.
use him more. Fine.
Uh-huh.
Not that I care a whole lot about Drake London. What I really want to see is the Michael Penix,
Yeah,
Kirk Cousins interaction. That's what I want to
dude.
see. That's all I care about.
People are already comparing Kyler Murray and Michael Penix Jr., dude. It is hilarious just because they're like relatively similar in age. Dude, it
It's
is too much.
right. Everybody's getting too excited. Settle down,
Yeah,
everybody. It's not that
yeah,
great. Like,
settle
it,
down.
but that would be interesting to me because part of me is like Kirk Cousins would be like, whatever, I don't care. Uh,
True. Yeah, I don't
I'm
care at
getting
all.
$100 million. I don't care. Like you, whatever.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I also
Do
could
what you
see
want.
him being like the Aaron Rodgers approach to Jordan Love. Sure, they were buddy buddy near the end, but then they first
Mm.
drafted Jordan Love. The whole like, man, forget this kid. He ain't shit. It's my team. What do you mean? What are we even talking about? Ask me about how my off season's going. I don't care about his. Like,
Gosh. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
that'll be interesting as well, seeing how, because obviously we've gone over this story before. Aaron Rodgers missing mini training camp, like 2 weeks ago.
no one cares
It,
about that.
it's getting, like I have no clue what's in store for the Jets. Like, people are kind of fluffing them up. People are kind of fluffing up the Cardinals. I don't really see either of them right now. But we'll see. We'll see.
I think I think honestly, Aaron Rodgers thinks now with Tom Brady gone that he's going to get the Tom Brady treatment in the NFL, which is I'm going to do whatever I want and I'm going to show up and play football and people are going to pay me. And
Yeah,
he's
and
not
that would make sense if he won. Tom Brady won.
right, right, but he's also not totally wrong because even in seasons past, when he skipped part of like some of the volunteer stuff, he still came out and balled out. Eh, But he's just, I don't know. And he seems nice. Like he seems like he's buddy buddy, but it also seems like he's just he has those moments where it's like, all right, just stay away from Aaron Rodgers for a little bit. He's kind of in a
Yeah,
grumpy mood.
true.
Yeah, I don't know.
Showing that old Favre energy,
Well, that's who we learned from. So
True, 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 true.
yeah,
People were
there's not
comparing Aaron Rodgers and Zach Wilson to that relationship too.
no
Oh man, that is hilarious. That
whoever
is
made that
hilarious to look back on.
whoever made that comparison, that was awful. That was
Dude,
an awful.
Associated Press. Like, what do you expect
Associated
them to
Press
know
is
about
also
source sports news?
that's all like that is a we have nothing to write about article
Yeah.
because no
It's
one
like,
is looking at
this is
Zach Wilson and
historical.
being like, this guy could be the next Aaron Rodgers if he just backs up someone that's a great for a while. No one's looking at that. I think we
Yeah,
got that with Jordan
nobody.
Love, where it's like, yeah, okay, but
True.
it's like we're getting copies of one of the greats, but it's
Hmm.
slightly worse. It's like a copy of a copy, so it's a little off, and then you get a new copy and it's a little bit more off. So
Yeah.
are we looking at Jordan Love as like 15 years as a starter, which is a long time. That's a good
Yeah.
amount of time to be a starter. One Super Bowl win, one MVP because Aaron Rodgers got three. Like, is this where
True.
we're just getting back a little bit?
Maybe. I mean, who knows?
Yeah. I
That being said, I am excited for Green Bay.
I'm excited for that whole division. That division's
Yeah.
disgusting. It's
Yeah.
too much going on at once. Uh, Now during training camps, they do combined practices. I hope we get a hard knocks of that, and I hope they match up with an interdivision rival.
That'd be crazy. I know they're gonna have a big one in LA. It is going to be um, Raiders, Chargers, Rams, and Saints, I want to say. Um, all four of those teams are going to be in the same training camp.
That's nuts.
It's like one of the biggest ones they've had in years.
All right. It'd be ideally the best team for the Bears to practice against?
Ooh, Steelers?
No. Well, Steelers would be good for them to work on their defense, but no, it would be the Lions. Best in the division
Oh,
versus the up and comer
yeah.
in the division. Like they rebuilt this team, they're ready.
Yeah.
We're gonna test it against the best.
A little bit of Rocky energy. I like it. I
Yeah,
like it. Yeah.
yeah. Lions are absolutely gonna annihilate that contest. But
Lions are going to annihilate the league.
no,
Saying it here now.
they're not gonna annihilate the league.
They did last year.
They did well last year. The Niners annihilated the league.
Yeah, Niners did annihilate the league.
Niners are gonna annihilate the league again.
Maybe. I hope not.
We can all hope they more than
Yeah.
likely are.
Yeah, more than likely.
Niners are gonna carry this
Like
league this year.
when do we start saying Shanahan's one of the greats, you know?
He's got to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
He hasn't won a Super Bowl yet. Lost it when he was an offensive coordinator and hasn't won one yet as head coach. Needs to win one.
True.
Like you can
True.
there are so many coaches that can make it to the Super Bowl. Not a lot can win it. And he's got to win. If he wins one, the conversation can start. If he wins
Yeah.
multiple, then the argument becomes, well, I mean, is he one of the greatest of all time? Like, are we
Yeah.
putting him up there with
I wouldn't say all
Peyton?
time, just one of the greats, you know?
But he's still young. Like,
He
what
is
if he
still
just
young.
keeps going? Like, he takes the Niner. Like,
Exactly.
we're
I mean,
looking
look
at
at
a
Andy Reid,
Belichick list.
you know? Nobody was saying Andy Reid was one of the greats 5 years ago. You know?
True. He's a long-standing coach. I mean, okay,
Yeah.
we're talking about all of this. We're skipping over John Harbaugh, who probably is going to be argued as one of the greatest coaches.
Oh,
Longest
he is, yeah.
tenured.
Mhm.
But if we're talking about it around the
Comparable,
league,
yeah, comparable with Steelers head coach though, you know, in my book.
no, no,
No?
no. Uh, and again, it goes back to the Super Bowls. I
Yeah.
think the Ravens have made more. And I will say Tomlin is one of the greats because he has kept the team above 500 for his entire NFL career, which is also insane. Like
Nuts. Yeah.
nuts. Because some of those teams were awful.
Yeah.
But I also feel like and maybe it's just because we're on the West Coast, I don't hear a lot about the Steelers. It's always just like we kind of like we're talking about the same thing, and it's like Steelers are expected
And
to do the same as they do every year.
the only person on the West Coast repping Steelers is my guy Snoop Dogg. You know, he has been a
Yeah.
Steelers fan for as long as I can remember. And I'll tell you what, I can respect that. I can
Yeah.
respect that.
I like this isn't Steelers hate. They have a good team. It's
Yeah.
just I don't hear a lot about them. In fact, the only reason I hear about the Ravens is because Lamar Jackson was an MVP.
Yeah. See
And I
how
think
you probably feel about the Steelers, I feel about the Colts. You know, like it honestly just seems like an alien team to me. You
yeah.
know?
And I think that is the difference. And I know you can't control like personnel on your team to an extent, but John
Hmm.
Harbaugh has had way more MVPs on his team that he's coached
Yeah, that's true.
than
That's
Tomlin.
true.
I think
Yeah.
Roethlisberger got one. Did AB
Did
get one?
Roethlisberger get one?
Yeah, I think Roethlisberger got at least one, right?
That's kind of crazy. I don't know. Maybe.
Hang on, let me.
People loved him. I wasn't one of them.
Ben Roethlisberger MVP. Oh no, he was a team MVP.
Okay, yeah.
He's never won an M. So then that would mean that Mike Tomlin has had zero players get an MVP.
Yeah.
And I know for a fact that Flacco has one, at least one,
Yeah.
and Lamar has one. So that's
Yeah.
two plus a Super Bowl.
I'm
I,
pretty sure Ray Lewis got an MVP.
I think you're right. At least one defense. And those are the ones that we can think of. Derrick Henry
Yeah.
might get it this year. So, could
Yeah,
just be like
true.
another one added to the list.
Oh, that would be crazy.
Yeah.
Oh man. True.
Uh,
True, true, true.
you want to throw out some hot takes?
Ooh, hot take, hot take. Let's think here. My hot take is that let us think.
You want me to give you? I've got two, I think. I
I
know
don't think I
one for
have a
sure.
hot take. I don't
All
think I
right.
got one. Yeah.
All right. I'll give you my first one. And I don't know if this is really a hot take, but
Mm.
I, after watching these first couple episodes of Hard Knocks, I think the hot take here is that the Giants don't get more than 5 wins. I'm
Ooh,
thinking
okay.
like 5-12 is what
Yeah.
we're looking at as an ideal situation.
Uh-huh.
Not anything like not that Malik Neighbors isn't going to be a guy. It's just that team
Yeah.
around him. Like that defense will carry them to 5. But
Yeah.
I don't see anything on offense that's like, oh my god, this team's so much better.
Yeah.
Uh,
I have a
yeah.
hot take actually.
Okay, let me hear it.
My hot take is that the Madden cover curse is going to come true and CMC doesn't break top 10 RB numbers this year.
Ooh, okay.
Hot,
You
hot,
know,
hot take.
I could see that though.
Right?
With everybody
He's
moving around,
injured.
like he's not. Well, not even that he's injured, just that so many running backs are in new homes that.
Yeah, true.
eh,
It's gonna be a
Uh,
it's gonna be a little bit of a spicy RB league.
so, and then this last hot take that I have ties into the fact that statistically speaking, when players join this team, they do better. And that's that I think that we get one last 1,000 yard. I'm gonna even go crazy and say 1,200
Ooh.
yard season from
Ooh.
Derrick Henry.
Whoa.
And
Wow, that's a big
and
one.
the reason behind this is because stats wise, the last player to have just under 1,000 yards and I think it was like 9 touchdowns to go join the Ravens was Mark Ingram. And Mark Ingram that year
Ah.
had 1,000 yards and like double digit touchdowns with the Ravens.
You know, shout out to the Ravens for establishing good marks. Mark
Right.
Andrews. Mark Ingram.
Right.
Shoot.
Well, Mark Ingram was coming from the Saints, where he'd already established himself as a guy.
Yeah.
But Derrick Henry is, I think, even now, is better than when Mark Andrews came to that team. Mark Ingram,
Ooh.
sorry.
Yeah.
Um, and so I could see it. Like,
Yeah.
lock it in now. Don't reach too high, but if he gets 1,200 and double digit touchdowns, gets a couple MVP votes, I'm thinking that's the take here. I think Giants under 5 wins. Derrick Henry outrushes that entire team by himself. So,
There you go.
yeah. So, all right. I think that was a good place to kind of wrap it up. We'll come back next week
Yeah.
and talk more about episode 3 of Hard
Yep.
Knocks and
Yep.
use that to kind of
Yeah.
lead into what we're going to talk about for the off season. So,
Let's do it.
all right. Thank you all for listening. Have a good
Until
one.
next time.
Yeah. Later.